I'm in the game and I see they want to play games with me. But not this time. Demetrius Andrade weighs in on a potential payday. Payday, you want payday? I know that. So, Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Bud Crawford. He gives his opinion yet again on this fight. In this video, I will talk about just that and what Demetrius Andrade had to say in a brand new interview with Fight Hub TV. So first, I'm going to get into the quote. Andrade says, quote, "Yeah, I believe so. I love Terence Crawford. He's a good friend and we reach out to each other. But when it comes to weight and power, that ish is real. Skills too. Canelo is not a pushover. Look at what he did to the little girl, Jermell Charlo. Charlo was the big bad wolf and he ran the whole fight off a couple of hooks. Canelo threw a couple of hooks and he just ran all night. Where's that intensity, the bravery, and let's fight? I think Crawford has the skills, but when it comes to getting shots and blocking them, power shots, and Canelo knows how to move too. He has agility. He's not like a robot. It's going to be tough. My opinion is my opinion. I don't think Crawford can beat Canelo Alvarez. Do I think he could give him a good fight? I'll be sitting there rooting for Crawford all day. I'm always going to bet on black. Ever play roulette? On occasion. Well, here's a little word of advice. Always bet on black. What movie is that from? He said always. But the reality is that Canelo knows how to fight. He knows how to come in big and he knows how to throw hard shots. He's a technical guy too. Look at what he did to Caleb Smith, hitting the elbows, hitting arms, hitting all those other kinds of stuff. He's going to use those same tactics on a smaller guy like Crawford. I'm just saying. I'm just talking real boxing facts. I'm not trying to be in this fantasy world because it's not what I'm in. Boom. Sometimes I impress myself. I am the great Egostradamus. The reason why is because you listen to what I say on my channel and then you start hearing after I've already said it. So I don't wait. I'm not waiting for interviews to happen. I speak my unfiltered opinion. And then later you hear boxers, trainers, former fighters, etc. say the same thing that I've been telling you on the channel. And that's exactly what's going on with Demetrius Andrade. You could listen to all my content, check the record. I've never been on board with this fight as this is an amazing fight. I need to watch it and please make it take my money. I think Canelo should be fighting the winner of Benavidez and Morrell. That's it. That's who he should be fighting. Someone like that, better be a Bevo winner, things like that at this point of his career. Not another somebody coming up from a lighter weight class. Now, the difference between me and Brand X, tell you all the time, there's a lot of low quality content in the space of boxing. The difference between me and other content creators, Brand X, is my morals, my principles, my virtues and values are just that. And I believe in what I'm saying and I don't break them for nobody. Like, it doesn't matter who you put, what name you put in the section. I like what I like. It's that simple, right? It's that simple. I like what I like. Other people, they'll criticize Canelo in the past for bringing up Amir Khan, for bringing up Jermell Charlo, bringing up Jose Cito Lopez. But somehow, some way, when Crawford literally has one fight at 154 and he looked more human, we'll say, his knockout streak ended. Now, all of a sudden, they're pushing for that fight. And you have content creators who have jumped ship, if you will. Now they're saying that Canelo needs to fight a smaller man. And if he doesn't, he's ducking. Crawford hasn't even cleared out 154. He hasn't cleared out 160. He hasn't come close to doing that. He has one fight in those divisions and 0 fights at 60 or 68. So with that being said, why are people trying to push for this fight? Doesn't really make sense to me, and it shows that men don't always act like men because they're not consistent. A man got to be congruent with his thoughts and consistent. That's what I am, a real man. So if you look at my whole track record since I've been doing this, I've never fancied Amir Khan versus Canelo at 55 Canelo weight. You could check. There's video, type it in. There's videos on my channel right now where I was like 7 reasons Amir Khan shouldn't move up and fight Canelo after the fight got announced, right? I was telling you Kell Brook shouldn't fight, against Golovkin.
Hey, Max, guys, his pond enough and tick, no. Hey, Max, no, guys.
Right? Told you, doesn't make sense to me. And 9 times out of 10, if it doesn't appear to make sense, when it happens, it doesn't make sense. And then we're stuck with, the person dared to be great. I remember people were talking about Errol Spence moving up and fighting Canelo. I wasn't big on that because Errol was a welterweight at the time, right? So my track record checks out. Unfortunately, you got people in this industry who are content creators and it's never consistent, right? People pick and choose. Like you'll have fans saying Crawford should move up and fight Canelo, bypass weight classes, all that good stuff. Fight Canelo. But then they're anti a guy like Naoya Inoue, who's a talented fighter, very skilled, moving up 2 weight classes to fight Gervonta Davis. So what's the big difference? Inoue is very talented in his division. Crawford is very talented in his divisions that he's fought. So why do you want to see Crawford at age 37, pushing 40, move up to fight Canelo, but then you don't want to see a younger Inoue fight Gervonta Davis? And I believe that weight classes exist for a reason, which is what Andrade is saying here, which is what I've been saying here, and he's a pro fighter. And you shouldn't disrespect that, right? Weight, people say weight matters. Some people say weight doesn't matter. Listen, weight matters. The people that are saying that weight doesn't matter is usually, it's kind of like a bravado, right? Where if you're skilled enough, you could offset somebody outweighing you, which I agree to. I agree that, like Floyd Mayweather, he fought guys bigger than him and he could beat them. But that comes with some type of limit. If you put Floyd at heavyweight, then he's gonna lose, right? Or it's not gonna look the same. It's not gonna be an exciting fight because you're pushing a man to the brink. He's not built as a heavyweight. He's not 6 foot plus. He's not naturally, his body type, phenotype isn't really 200 plus pounds type of frame. His power would not be the same at heavyweight. So everybody has limits. There's a limit to virtually everything in life. Like you get inside of an elevator and where you press the button to choose the floor you're gonna go on, it genuinely, I think almost always will tell you the weight capacity. It'll say max capacity 2,000 pounds. Meaning if you stuff that elevator with too many people, complications could arise because that's too much weight. So you would wait till the next, elevator shaft comes down, you know what I mean? As opposed to like overstuffing it and then it breaks the machine and y'all fall or whatever. Looking like the Twilight Zone ride at California Adventure, the Towers of Terror or whatever that's called. So that's boxing. Fighters can be good, but you give them too much weight and they're not going to look the same. It's just what it is. And despite Crawford being very talented, he's already moved up multiple weight classes, and people in this new modern age, it's just I want to see it. My conventional wisdom and intuition leads me in a certain direction, but just like the cat, people are curious. People are just curious as to what will happen, what could happen, and things like that. So then they'll want to see it. The same thing, in my opinion, why Jake Paul is able to rob the bank with the Mike Tyson fight. Conventional wisdom, when you really look at the fight, this is a 30 years age gap. There's a guy who's like bigger in modern times and at least been training and active in training camps. You got Tyson, who didn't even look good in his last few fights. If you look at his box rec, his last few fights were losses, and yet and still people think he can do drugs, not be in training camp, gain weight, lose weight, have all these fluctuations in a span of 20 plus years, star in the movie Hangover and all this stuff, and do mushrooms, smoke weed, and then have one training camp. And just like a Rocky Balboa, hey Tommy, and they act like it's a video game or a Rocky Balboa film, Creed, where he could just fight Antonio Tarver and, turn back the clock. But those Cinderella Man stories are typically found in Hollywood, where if it don't make sense, like in real life, Apollo Creed would beat the out of Rocky. In the movie, it gives people hope. It's a different outcome where Balboa just keeps getting up and stuff like that. But in the real world, a journeyman like that ain't gonna beat a bigger champion like Apollo Creed, who's in shape, more experienced, etc., etc. And people's curiosity can be a funny thing because we live in a microwave society where, again, people just want to see it and then they immediately wash their hands of it. Like, let's say Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. That fight, towards like when it was about to happen, people were all in. It did very good numbers on Netflix, 50, 75 million tuned in. And then look how quickly it's been forgotten. The only thing that I seen post-fight was negative. There was no positive that I really seen from it. And that's what's happening in this modern age of boxing, where events are happening, but it's not really leaving a legendary, like, legacy defining moment. It's just like here today, gone tomorrow type of attitude. And that's what I look at these novelty fights and fights like Crawford moving up 2 weight classes. Yeah, it'll be good for his bank account, but that's about it. And as a fan, why would you be concerned with how much money another person is spending? Like, do you watch the news and see some guy in Milwaukee won the lottery and, okay, he got $10 million, but you still got to go to work every day. You still got to take care of your kids. Him winning $10 million is really irrelevant to your life. So I never, as a boxing reporter and a fan, I'm never really pressed or worried about the fighters' pay to the point where that supersedes logic. Yes, I want to see fighters get paid because they're risking their lives and they're entertaining us. But beyond that, Crawford, like, what if Crawford, and the other thing is, it could be bad for Crawford because I don't see this miraculous move up in weight. Like, you couldn't even stop Israel Madrimov and he had 11 fights, right? And we're going to see when Virgil Ortiz fight him, if Virgil Ortiz stopped Madrimov, then that's going to look bad for Crawford because, people look at these triangle theories, whether it's right or wrong, and they look at it as a barometer. So if Virgil Ortiz, that's going to show that he has the style and the power to stop Madrimov if he's able to do that. Meanwhile, Crawford didn't. So you think he's going to move up 2 weight classes against a legend and Hall of Famer like Canelo, who's never been dropped, never been stopped, never been on the canvas, and you think Crawford is going to stop Canelo Alvarez when Triple G had like 36 rounds or whatever to stop Canelo and he never even dropped him, even in the first fight when he was a bit younger? To me, that don't make sense. So what Andrade is saying here is what I've been telling you. And the funny thing is, Andrade is telling you, me and Crawford stay in touch. Me and Crawford are cool, but I don't live in a fantasy world. I'm just giving you my opinion in boxing. And the funny thing is, when I do the same thing, like it's never personal. It's always business. When it comes to me, when I get on here, it's always business. I never talk about, oh, this person's kids are ugly, or this person, look at this. And, I'm not making nothing personal. And it seems to rub some people the wrong way, to the point where they'll be like, you hate certain fighters, Ego. You hate this fighter. Because I'm not saying what you want me to say, that means that I hate X, Y, and Z fighter. Or maybe I'm just telling the truth and telling you my honest opinion. Ever thought about that? And that's what it is here. People, oh, you hate Crawford. So does Andrade hate Crawford because he's saying the same thing as me? And there's pictures with him and Crawford, and he just told you that Crawford's a good friend. He respects his skills, but there's Canelo advantages. Canelo's technical. Canelo got like 50, 60 fights. So it's not like he has more experience than Crawford, for real, because he's been in bigger fights. That's a great point. I just thought about that. I want somebody, one of you maniacs who think Boxing Ego gonna be wrong, to come and argue that point in the comment section. I'm telling you, Canelo has far better big fight experience and experience in general as opposed to Crawford. I want you to argue that so you can look dumb. Because Canelo faced Cotto. Canelo faced Mayweather and Lara and 3 fights with Triple G. Crawford has never had a fight that has achieved those levels of success, both crowd size, live gate, pay-per-view, buy rate, and viewership. He's never had that. His best has been clearly Errol Spence. So just that within itself, Canelo has showed you that the Austin Trout fights, the Cotto fight, the Floyd, like I said before, Canelo, he's going to be a champion. He's just not going to be a champ today. It's my time. Like I tried to tell Canelo Alvarez, he's a hungry lion. Hard work, dedication, right? Crawford don't have one fight that supersedes that Mayweather fight. That fight did like 2.4 million pay-per-view buys. Your best didn't even hit 1 million with Errol Spence. Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia, they got a fight that did over 1 million, but Crawford doesn't. That's the reality. Again, it's always business. It's never nothing personal. You could get mad, but you're getting mad at facts because I'm the fact speaker. I'm the king of these facts. I'm the king of boxer talk. The best in the business, and it's not even close. Period. So that's the reality of it. Point blank, period. You can get mad, but you're getting mad at the truth. And this is what Andrade is saying. He's like, Canelo's technical. He has little subtle, trickery, like what he did to Caleb Smith, hitting the arms, elbows, and, making his arm inoperable and swollen. And of course, he's going to do that and try to employ these tactics against someone smaller. Nobody is going to want to fight somebody smaller and let the smaller guy act like the big guy. Because when that happens, you look dumb, i.e. Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, he looked crazy because he letting the little guy, he called him middleweight, "Ya rabbit, middleweight, gappy tooth rabbit." He did all this yelling and screaming, and the middleweight was feeding you and hurting you. So Canelo is, what we know about Canelo is a prideful guy. He's definitely prideful, and he got heart, and he has skills. So Andrade is really summarizing what I've always said. I've never been really big on this fight. I would watch it per my channel because that's my job to watch boxing, but don't think that this needs to happen. Like, again, and I've noticed it's died down a bit, right? Crawford Madrimov, at best, you were moving up to 54. That should have been your audition tape for a Canelo fight. And I don't think that Crawford got through Madrimov impressively enough to the point that would warrant him to leave the division, bypass 160, move all the way to 168 for a Canelo fight. Like, you're supposed to chew through a 11 fight Madrimov if you want to audition for a Canelo fight, in my opinion, right? People are like, oh, but Canelo, ego, Canelo fought Berlanga, Edgar Berlanga, but ego, Canelo fought Munguia. These were Mexican and Puerto Rican fighters, so completely different because they may have a different fan base than a black guy from Omaha, right? Edgar Berlanga, in my opinion, showed in the Canelo fight the ability and propensity to make it entertaining and talk some trash, which we seldom see from Terence Crawford, especially if he respects you, which I think he would respect a guy like Canelo. So it would be a boring buildup, in my opinion, if I had to take a stab at it, right? Versus Berlanga was talking. He was making it interesting. And he was like, oh, I'm gonna knock you out and it's my time and New Rican power and all this type of stuff. So we're talking about different things, different fan base, different approach, different energies. And Berlanga's also big. Like Berlanga, if you look at him now, he looked like he 200 plus pounds, right? So different things when we're talking about Canelo versus those guys. But at the bare bones minimum, Munguia and Berlanga also had fights at 68 and had knockouts at 68. Something Crawford doesn't have. So what is the incentive other than two names, which we've already been down this road? We've seen Jermell Charlo, a name, versus Canelo. Now, it's not to say that Jermell Charlo fights anything like Crawford, but a guy, he's capable and he's skilled and he's bigger than Crawford, and literally none of his punches affected Canelo. So that leads me to believe that a guy who started even lighter than Jermell Charlo, like a lightweight like Crawford, who doesn't have that many fights above that, his power is not going to deter Canelo. He would have to outbox Canelo. And who wants to see that? So put up 100, 150 mil to see if Crawford, the smaller man, can outbox Canelo, or if Canelo brutalizes him and knocks him out. That's kind of the tale of the tape. And I just think there's far better fights in general, like Crawford Murtazaev. That makes more sense. Not necessarily the biggest name, but hey, it makes more sense. You know, even a Crawford Charlo or something, Jermell Charlo. But just to move up to, obviously Jermell would have to get some fights in, like some tune-ups, because he's been out for a while. But there's just other fights like Benavidez, Morrell winner versus Canelo that make far more sense to me. So I agree with what Andrade is saying, because I've been telling you. Let me know what you guys think. We unpack.